Hi everyone, and welcome to my Resources of the Week series. My name is Sahra and I'm a psychologist at Mindscape Psychology in Leichhardt in Sydney. So today I'm sharing a really special resource with you, and it's probably a resource that I have gone back to over and over and over again for decades. Now, if you find that kind of interesting, what is something that this person might go back to and might have gone back to for decades, I'm going to share it with you. And the reason why I wanted to share this with you is I think in terms of the things that bring us joy, bring us meaning, and give us a really broad understanding of our lives and of the world, I think we can draw on so many different resources around us, so many different forms of inspiration and different things that might add something to our lives. So I'm going to share with you my favorite book, and this has been my favorite book since I was a little kid. And it is Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. And this is my collector's edition that I picked up a couple of years ago from a bookshop down the street. The reason why I wanted to share this book with you guys is because I think it is something that I've always held dear in terms of its philosophy. I think I was of that generation of kids who grew up with Disney and with princess stories and with all of these sorts of images and stories and narratives of the happily ever after. And I think that there were a lot of other kinds of stories that sort of reinforced that idea of, if we just try, then things are gonna get better. And you know what? I find that so difficult and problematic when I'm working with people who are experiencing mental health issues. We have this idea that if we just try, things are going to get better. Whereas I think when we're presented with narratives that show something a little bit different, we're able to see that, there are going to be slumps. There are going to be bumps. There are going to be places where we're just going to be struggling in our lives. And I think that even though this is, a very typical Dr. Seuss book in that it is bright and colorful and interesting, there are a lot of home truths in there. So I'm going to share with you a couple of my favorite bits. So I love the optimism in it, and it starts off very optimistically. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself any direction you choose. And that, I think, is something that I've learned actually goes in line with what I've been taught with acceptance and commitment therapy, which is one of the therapies that I like to use with a lot of my clients. When we understand what our goals are, when we understand what is important to us, that I get to be the one who is in charge of taking me to that place. But it's not always that easy, is it? So if we skip ahead a little bit, Oh, the Places You'll Go, we start to think about how we become really competitive, and we can soar really high, and we can compete with other people, and we can compete with ourselves. And then sometimes what happens is that we can get left behind. And this is when we can start to figure out, are my values the same as other people's values? Are my goals the same as other people's goals? Why is it that everybody else is flying on ahead of me and I'm feeling as though I'm in a bang up and a hang up? And this is beautiful. This is probably one of the bits that, I can probably quote the whole book, but when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. And that, I think, just resonates so much with anybody who has experienced any kinds of mental health issues, whether it's depression or anxiety or momentary stress. I think when we are experiencing those kinds of distress, it is so important to acknowledge how difficult it is to unslump ourselves. Now this double page I actually have in frames in my waiting room in my clinic, and this is the waiting place. Waiting for a fish to bite, waiting for the wind to fly a kite, waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a bed to break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. Wow. It's powerful, isn't it? This idea of waiting and staying and trying to figure out how stuck we are in our waiting and what might be necessary in order for us to move on. I'm going to skip ahead to another couple of things that I think are really important. So this idea of being alone, you know, there's this idea that we're going to find our tribe, find someone who's going to rescue us, find someone who's going to make it all better. But you know what? A lot of being an adult and being a capable adult is coping with being alone. The way we can function, yes, is very socially, but at the same time, there are definitely going to be parts in our lives where we are alone. All alone, whether you like it or not, alone will be something you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and yon that can scare you so much you won't want to go on. But then we have amazing encouragement. But on you will go, though the weather be foul. On you will go, though your enemies prowl. On you will go, though the hack and cracks howl. Aren't they gorgeous? Onward up many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. On and on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far, and face up to your problems, whatever they are. And that is why I feel as though this is probably one of the most inspirational and influential books that I have ever read, that has supported me through my own journeys, and that I can show some of my clients and show you guys, and hopefully you might get some inspiration from it as well. So thank you so much for joining me on this resource of the week that has meant so much to me and has been there for me for the last, couple of decades. Thanks so much for joining me this week, and I hope to see you again next week for another resource. Thanks, everybody. Bye.